Hi everybody, this is Yannick Collins and welcome back to Oz Living, where we bring you crypto news and conversations from only the sharpest minds in the space. And I'm so pleased to be joined by the founder of EnjinStarter. Prakash is here with me today. Thank you so much, Prakash, for taking the time.
Oh, Yannick, thanks for having me over.
So I'm super curious about your journey in crypto. When did you first dabble into crypto? What was your journey like?
Sure. So I first experienced Bitcoin in 2013. My brother used to run a cafe here in Singapore, and he was kind of like the first establishment to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. I saw him go through that entire journey, but never actually bought Bitcoin myself. And I only got into the space a lot later in 2016. I started doing a bit of Ethereum mining with a couple of friends. We took some of that output, we sold it so that we could actually buy more equipment. But eventually we started getting deeper into the space. We started investing into a few IDOs. We decided to do an IDO ourselves. And that's kind of brought us on this roller coaster of a ride of ups and downs. Meeting a whole lot of people, both positive and negative. And yeah, it's been a crazy journey. I did take a break during the last bear market, where I went back to serve in a food tech startup that I helped start in the early days. And they too went on a crazy ride. And I got back into crypto in 2020. Was supporting an exchange that eventually got listed in the US. And I got into EnjinStarter sometime early last year. I had the opportunity of investing a small allocation into a project called Infinity, which was a new blockchain that Enjin was building. And after I read the white paper, my mind was blown. And Enjin's one of the earliest pioneers in the blockchain gaming space. And when I knew that they were going to build a new chain, we felt that they would need a dedicated Launchpad. And that's how we started EnjinStarter. We pitched to the Enjin team. They were very gracious to support us by investing in our seed round. We went on to raise another 5 million through private investors. And we eventually hosted our IDO in early October on our own platform. We had to practice what we preached, and we actually had to show the market that we had a working product, and that's where we hosted our own IDO. We raised an additional 500,000 on our own Launchpad, and that began our journey. And it's been a great ride. We've participated in about 70 projects to date. We've invested anything from 25,000 to 100,000 each. And about 45 of them have actually completed their IDO on our platform. But of course, it's a bear market now. Things have slowed down from a Launchpad perspective. But that doesn't stop the work that we're doing. We're exploring how we can actually support our portfolio companies by doing a whole range of events. We've been getting them to do a lot more cross-promotions and collaborations. And yeah, we'll continue finding ways to actually help ourselves as well as our ecosystem to kind of ride out this bear market until things get a lot better for all of us.
Damn, that's so impressive. It's like so many progress and developments within such a short span of time. But just to preface this for our audience who are watching and getting to know Enjin for the very first time, could you tell us more what Enjin is doing to its core?
Sure. So basically what we do is we identify projects. So take for example, it's a game. And what we do is we invest in them at a very early stage. And once we're invested, we speak to the founders, we understand what are the challenges that they have in kind of building out a blockchain business. We could help them with their tokenomics, we could help them with partnerships, and of course everyone needs to raise capital, and I would say that that's our strength. We've got a network of 70 to 80 investors that we work very closely with. Wow. And then once we are invested, these guys will also invest alongside with us and kind of help the projects go to a next level. We also help these projects with community acquisition. And once they are at a stage where they are ready to launch, we put them on our platform, which is a Launchpad. And this is where our community buys our tokens, holds our tokens, and the longer and the more that they hold, the greater an allocation that they get. And then each time we actually have a project that's live, they get an allocation, they buy tokens, and then they participate in some of these upcoming projects. So yeah, that's primarily how we support our ecosystem. And beyond launch, we help the projects with marketing and PR and partnerships, and whatever it takes to kind of make that project a success. Because running a startup business is high risk, and running a blockchain business is even more high risk. And this is where we all need to work together, and that's where we see ourselves primarily as ecosystem builders. We look to build bridges. We don't compete with anyone. We work with a whole lot of other launchpads because we always believe that collectively we're a lot stronger.
Wow, you are truly giving opportunities to people who want to build their own gaming platform. When you say gaming, is it like play to earn NFT gaming?
Yeah, play to earn was what got us into the space. Trends have changed very quickly. At this point in time, what's really trending is move to earn, and it's also timely, right? Because COVID measures have somewhat ended, and now is the time that people are actually going out. They want to be a lot healthier. And this is where you can bring in a more fun element to it. We are also doing a lot of entertainment projects because we believe that music as an industry is about to be disrupted, and a lot of creators, whether it's a musician or an artist, they want to have a direct relationship with their community, and this is where blockchain comes in. So yeah, we do invest across a whole spectrum of theses. These days, we kind of look for platforms or IPs that actually have large community base. A minimum threshold that we look for is that ideally they have at least 100,000 fans, and then we try to find a way to develop a strategy for them. But the way and the work that we do, we collectively call it a Web3 strategy, while tokens and NFTs or even selling digital real estate comes together to kind of create a whole new internet, right? It's a whole new internet that's being built, and we see ourselves playing a very small role of being that catalyst in helping this internet being built.
Exactly, and you are literally helping, influencers, creators move to the Web 2 to the Web 3 platform.
That's right.
And when we look at the potential for the NFTs for these film and the music industry, how exactly is NFT revolutionizing?
Sure. So the NFTs offer the community to actually own a piece of their idols, right? If it's a movie, they can actually own a piece of that movie. And this is where, a very holistic environment is built, where the fans come in and they are very much part of that whole creative process. They're contributing content, they're buying NFT, and that NFT provides a utility into that ecosystem. This is where if you pay or you earn your way into one of the higher tiers, you get to meet the creator, you get to understand what actually happens behind the scenes, which is a very, very important aspect in building rapport. And this is where the community becomes a very big part of that entire creative process. And this is where I think a lot of magic is going to happen, because we're going to see musicians and artists all around the world looking for a platform to actually launch off and really use their talent to actually create an income for themselves. Some of these guys are probably working in the day and jamming in the night, but now Web3 is now going to offer them an opportunity to create a secondary source of income. And I think that's one of the key things that COVID or the pandemic taught us, that we need to have multiple sources of income so that it kind of protects our livelihood when each or any one of them is threatened.
How do you exactly entice these creators to move from the Web 2, where they already got comfortable making a living off the Web 2 space, and then now transitioning to Web 3, which it takes a lot of educating, right?
Agreed.
So how do you exactly do it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that's the biggest challenge that we go through. And a lot of these people always hear a lot of bad news online, and that kind of holds them back. And the approach that we take is to kind of show them how can we actually help them reduce the friction for them to actually enter into the space, and also to providing them an entire suite of products and services so that their journey into this space is going to be very smooth. And this is where we actually introduce them to partners and other people to actually collaborate with, because sometimes the journey need not be something that you go through alone. There's a whole lot of people who are already in the space that you could leverage and work with to actually make it a lot more smoother. And I would say that that's our value proposition. We literally hold the hands of the creators, we guide them on what's good, what's bad. We leverage on their experience and the mistakes that we've made so that these guys don't actually repeat those mistakes.
Love it. And now we're seeing play to earn, and what you said a while ago, move to earn.
That's right.
And also there's going to be in the future, learn to earn, watch to earn,
Dance
all of
to
these stuff.
earn.
Like, can you just paint us a picture of the world where we get to transition in this path?
Sure. I guess everything goes down to where we are in terms of humanity, right? It's a journey that we are all going towards. I think post-pandemic, we're seeing a lot of mega trends happening. You see the great resignation happening, and we believe that Web3 is part of what is known as the Great Reset, where the entire world is now going into this new paradigm, where the millennials or everyone really wants to live life in our own terms, and really what we want to be doing is using the talents that God has given us and really monetizing that, right? Not just working for someone and trading time for money, but really using the talent that's been given to us and really just taking away the middleman, right? I think in the past, the middleman either was the barrier to entry. So say if you want to become a star, you need to know the right people. But now with the internet, a musician in Brazil can be famous in Asia because of his fan base. And all that is really just going to be made possible in a bigger way by Web3.
Now, I'm super curious. Let me just bring you back to the past. And how did exactly this metaverse concept came to mind? What were you doing at that point of time where you're like just watching a movie and then suddenly a light switch off and then, okay, wow, this is the future, literally.
Sure.
Like, how did that
so I guess
come
really, it all goes back to COVID days, right? Where we were all stuck at home. We couldn't travel. We couldn't, do meetings face to face. And at the same time, you hear about what is happening with the Metaverse space. And then, of course, we started seeing a lot of big brands like Facebook rebranding themselves into Meta. Typically, the way that I assess opportunities, I see it in a flow, right? And when we see a flow of talent, money, and energy coming into a space, we know that it's going to be, something big. And this is where a paradigm shift is going to be happening. I personally started my journey in Korea in Web 1.0, where I was building websites for corporate clients. But that space was all about reading, right? I mean, you read a website, you read corporate literature, but you couldn't interact with that, right? And then came Web 2.0, where it was all about communities. We went into communities, we created communities, and these communities grew in size. And this is where everyone had a voice, right? So Web 2 was about reading and writing. Right, and now what's happening in Web 3, where we believe the decentralized world is coming, where not only do we read, not only do we write, but we are also going to own a piece of the metaverse, right? And this is where we would now actually have an opportunity to recover from the mistake that we made during Web 2, where we gave away our data to all the big companies because they offered us a product for free. We gave away our data for free, right? And in all honesty, they used our data. They became multi-billion or trillion-dollar companies, but we got nothing out of it, right? Yeah. But now is our time to really learn from that and step into the Web3 world with much more clarity, where we actually own our data, where we share this data with which brand. We can decide, and we can decide how is that going to be done. And if truly our data gets shared, then we need to be paid back in some way. And I think this is where tokens and NFTs come in, and they provide this value transfer.
That is so brilliant. All right, and when we look at the roadmap of EnjinStarter. What is it going to look like for EnjinStarter, say, in the next 10 years? What are your expectations? Who are going to be your consumers, users, and all that?
Sure. Wow, 10 years, it's a long roadmap, but definitely we are looking a lot into the metaverse. We are a distributed company. While we are based here in Singapore, we've got colleagues in the Philippines, in India, in the US, and growingly we are all spending a lot of time online, right? So we definitely believe that eventually things are going to be in the metaverse. The metaverse is going to change the way that we live, work, and play. And for my kids, the way that they learn is also going to change. We have a global virtual office in Blocktopia. We're definitely looking at having a presence in the sandbox. But again, the physical presence or the virtual presence need not necessarily replicate what we have today, but it could serve a whole new function. And the way that we see it is potentially could be a place for us to showcase the projects that we have invested in. It could be a clubhouse where a community comes in to actually not just meet us, but also meet the whole range of portfolio companies that we have. So if you really ask me where the 10-year roadmap would be, we believe in the ideology of singularity, and we believe that in time to come, technology should serve humanity. It should free up the most important resource, which is really time, and give us that time to actually spend it with loved ones, with kids, and then we work in our own terms from wherever we want to work, in the whatever time that we want to work, and it doesn't necessarily have to follow the current cadence of a 9-to-5 kind of a role. And I think we're leaving that behind, and we're definitely stepping into a brighter future. But it's going to take some time. There will be some booms, there will be some busts. But as long as we work with an ideology of being able to own our data, I think we will definitely see that success. But yeah, it definitely, our vision is to build a global organization, and people need to have the freedom to be where they are and be able to contribute to our vision.
Well, Prakash, this has been so insightful, so educational. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. You have been so inspirational, and all the best of luck to EnjinStarter.
Thank you very much. And if there's anything I could do for you guys from a community building perspective, feel free to tap on our resources. What we have is for everyone to share, and we are very happy to collaborate and work with as many projects as we can.
Oh my God, that is so refreshing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Probably will do, of course.
Awesome.